Welcome back to A320 Knowledge, your trusted source for Airbus expertise. Today, we're diving into Airbus's guidance on GPS jamming.
Hi, and welcome to this briefing about GNSS jamming. Pilots face interferences on GPS signal in their daily operations. So this briefing will provide some answers about the impact of GPS interferences on aircraft operations. Former aircraft relied only on ground navigation information, via DME or NDB, and on onboard inertial references. This means enabled the area navigation from waypoint to waypoint thanks to the flight management systems. Then we introduced the GPS and augmented GPS via satellite-based and ground-based augmentation systems to improve the navigation accuracy and thus improve the air traffic management and develop some onboard functions to support and ease the pilot's task. Now the aircraft better follow the routes defined on the charts. As an example, considering the significant track dispersion of the aircraft, the former southeast sector of the Atlanta airport allowed only 4 different departure routes. However, thanks to the introduction of the performance-based navigations and RNAV, the redesign of the same airspace opened the way to 4 additional departure routes, now 8 instead of 4 initially. However, GPS is also used in the cockpit, for instance with the ND display of the surrounding terrain levels. So GPS is an enabler for many onboard functions, especially for the communication, navigation and surveillance means. For example, for communication, the CPDLC data link messages exchanged between pilots and controllers are synchronized with the GPS information. For the navigation, the aircraft uses GPS and augmented GPS to fly RNP operations or display the FLS, GLS and SLS deviations during the approach. For surveillance, ADS-C and ADS-B reports transmit the position based on the GPS informations, and moreover for taxi operations, the GPS is used to display aircraft position on the airport moving map. So GPS is frequently used by the onboard systems, but it is usually not the only source of information. We also consider inertial references, navigation raw data for navigations, or internal clock for synchronizations, as well as ILS during the approach, and so on, as a complement, backup, or alternate solution. As GPS is extensively used, especially for PBN operations, all aircraft need the same type of GNSS receiver, which must be standardized on aircraft, and it is. Standardized according to TSO and European TSO, which rely on specification from RTCA and EuroK documents. These standards address the way to track and process the signals, how to manage performance criteria, accuracy, integrity, availability, and so on, as well as operational requirements for LNAV VNAV or LPV operations. So they are performance and operations oriented, but so far the standards do not address robustness against the malicious interferences, because previously the interferences were marginal. But now interferences are an operational reality. So what are the different types of interference? First, a high energy spread on the GPS radio frequency band that can lead to a loss of GPS data. This is what we called jamming. GPS is impacted, but not only GPS. We are now transitioning from a GPS to a GNSS denomination, Global Navigation Satellite System. GNSS basically includes the US GPS and also equivalents like European Galileo or Russian GLONASS, as well as the augmentation systems such as GBAS and SBAS. All of them can be impacted by GNSS jamming. On the other hand, a fake signal that aims at producing an erroneous position on board. This is what we call spoofing. The known case of spoofing mainly impacted boats today, and there are no known events on civil aircraft. But Airbus does not put the topic of spoofing on standby. We work proactively with Eurocontrol and industry to better characterize the spoofing, to stress the systems and analyze the impact on aircraft and operations. This briefing is focused on GNSS jamming. So, what can be the possible source of GNSS jamming? It can be first an unintentional amateur radio, or systems intending to voluntarily interfere with GNSS. We had an in-service experience with the Philippines with a system preventing drones to fly above a jail located close to the final approach of an airport. And of course, last but not least, the highly intentional military interferences. And today operators flying east sector of the Mediterranean Sea well know the issue. So we get more and more feedback from you operators drawing up a list of events in many places around the world. A typical example in 2016 is in South Korea, with more than 300 flights affected in a single month, sometimes with a total loss of GPS position. More recently, in the east sector of the Mediterranean Sea, for instance in Beirut, an OTAM recommended the use of conventional procedures. Or in Nicosia, with an OTAM published in March 2018, which is still effective today. So you face external interferences that can lead to the loss of some aircraft capabilities. Airbus considered this operational feedback, performed simulator sessions to stress the systems and assess the functional, operational as well as maintenance impacts of the GNSS loss. Our main conclusion is that the induced failures are detected by the systems and indicated on the displays. Then, as indicated previously, systems use some additional means to maintain the aircraft operations. The inertial references, the nav aids, the barometric altitude, the internal clock, the ILS and so on are used as a complement, backup or alternate solution. Therefore, under GNSS jamming, maybe you will lose or downgrade the aircraft capabilities, but the existing normal and abnormal procedures can be applied to safely fly, navigate and communicate. We published an in-service information article with associated flight ops transmission and also a safety first article to detail the possible cockpit effect, the operational and maintenance recommendations. We would like to highlight that it is not possible to give a clear sequence of the cockpit effects. Depending on the strength of the interfering signal, depending on the spatial configurations or environment, knowing that the onboard functions have different confirmation delays to validate a loss of functions in order to avoid spurious alerts, you will only observe a few impacts like nav ADSB reporting fault, or you can get all of them including GPS primary loss. In a few words, let's review the operational recommendations. First, during the flight preparations, the dispatch should consider attempts to anticipate the GNSS jamming area. In case of known GNSS interferences in your field of operations, avoid GPS-based operations like RNP and prefer conventional routes and ILS approaches. Note that a rain prediction considers the spatial configurations of the GNSS constellation but does not cover the GNSS jamming effect. Then, when in flight, just follow FCOM procedures because failures are sensed and generate ECAM and ND messages. One point is often raised. Do I need to deselect the GPS? We do not recommend deselecting GPS in such situations as the interference is temporary. You will recover the GNSS position after leaving the interference area. Then, if you lose ADSB out and you fly in a country where ADS-B out is required, notify ATC about your loss of GNSS signal, and maybe you will not be the only one. Finally, after the flight, just report possible GNSS interferences in your pilot report. Firstly, this is to trigger the correct level of maintenance task, but it is also in order to trigger feedback to regional and international organizations. This information will be used to issue NOTAMs as soon as possible. So this first analysis addressed the general impact of GNSS interferences on Airbus aircraft. However, there are additional recommendations for one specific aircraft configuration. For aircraft equipped with MMR Collins GLU 925 with part number ended by 430, for this specific part number installed on some Airbus aircraft but not on the A350, when leaving a GNSS interference area, some functions, ADS-B out, OANS or FLS and GLS deviations may not be recovered. In such case, you apply the FCOM procedures for ACAM failures and you apply the following additional procedures. Before your descent preparations, reset OANS. And during the approach with FLS or GLS guidance modes, appropriately react to loss of deviations, considering the loss of autoland capability if applicable, or consider a go-around operation if the visual references are not sufficient. So these recommendations apply only to aircraft with this specific equipment. On other aircraft, all lost capabilities are detected and the GNSS position will be recovered when out of the interference area. To conclude this briefing, GNSS jamming is a reality. Any aircraft with a GNSS receiver can be affected, and not only the Airbus aircraft. We analyzed the impact on Airbus aircraft and we provided operational and maintenance recommendations in the general way and for aircraft with a specific part number. So, knowing that failures are detected, downgrading of capabilities are indicated, and that the aircraft use some backup or alternate sources, therefore the flight crew can still safely fly, navigate and communicate with existing normal and abnormal procedures and recommendations.
Our popular A320 tech quizzes are now part of an exclusive newsletter membership designed to provide you with even more value. As a member, you'll receive 4 brand new A320 tech quizzes every month, one each Monday, delivered straight to your inbox. You'll also receive exclusive deep dives into A320 systems, procedures, and techniques that go beyond this YouTube content. And you'll also gain access to bonus content and other surprises to keep your knowledge fresh and up to date. If you're interested, click the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen to sign up today. Thanks for tuning in, and let's take your A320 knowledge to the next level.